All right, Revelation 8. I meant to get right back into this, but it didn't happen. Anytime I try and start a video, enemy comes, tries to hit me. Okay, here we go. We've just finished Revelation 7, and we are now about to go to we're finished the seal judgments, and we're about to move on to the trumpet judgments. And the seventh seal is the kind of handover to the trumpets. And it's basically just an upping of the ante. The final act is coming, and every step we get closer, we are upping the ante. The judgments are getting bigger. The stakes are getting higher, and you can see that the splitting apart is happening. So the saints, Jesus is taking the people that are the people that have turned to him, he's taking them, and the people that have rejected him, they're going to get sent away, let's say. Okay, so we'll move on. This is the seventh seal and the seven trumpets. Okay, so we start on that. Now, when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Let's start there. Silence in heaven for half an hour. Why is there silence in heaven for half an hour? Or about half an hour? Interesting, tidbit of information there. But if you remember, the scrolls, these are the ancient scroll. This is the scroll that Jesus is opening. So there's 7 seals on the scroll, and each time he breaks one of those seals, some sort of judgment pours out on the earth. So he's on to the 7th seal. The scroll itself is the title deed to earth, basically. The title deed to creation. Satan took it from Adam. Jesus is taking it back from Satan. And it's going to happen. It's beginning right now. So the 7th seal is important because once the 7th seal is broken, you can open the title deed and you can claim it, basically. So I think that's why he's opening the 7th seal. He's claiming what's rightfully his inheritance. He is the king. Jesus is the king. He is the promised Messiah, and now he's taking his inheritance. And by the way, if you are a believer, you will reign and rule with him. That's what Paul says. Okay, so then I saw 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. Okay, so it's gone from the seals to the trumpets. The seal is like the handover. The seventh herald, basically, of the seal judgments turns over to the trumpet judgments, and now we up the ante. So then I saw 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. Another angel came and stood at the altar, holding a golden incense burner. He was given much incense to offer up, along with the prayers of the saints, upon the golden altar before the throne. So another angel came and stood by the altar. It's almost like it's a well-oiled and well-practiced, how would you say? It's a well-practiced ritual, even, that this is happening, He was holding a golden incense burner, and he was given much incense to offer up along with the prayers of the saints upon the golden altar before the throne. So this angel is taking the prayers and he's offering them up to God. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints rose before God from the angel's hand. So this is the prayers of the saints, probably that come out of the tribulation. So these are, you'll see later on, when are you going to, or no, was it earlier? The saints that were in heaven, they were petitioning Jesus, saying, when are you going to avenge our death? And Jesus was like, hold on, relax, I'll get to that. I got this, is like what he was saying. So this is what the prayers of the saints are rising up before God. Then the angel took the incense burner and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it to the earth. So this is almost like the prayers of the saints have been given up, and God puts fire from his throne and says, that's an answer to those saints. Fire it onto the earth. And there were clashes of thunder and rumbling and flashings of lightning and earthquakes. Then the 7 angels, holding the 7 trumpets, prepared to sound them. The first trumpeted, and there was hail and fire mixed with blood. That'll be an interesting day. Hail and fire mixed with blood. I don't want to be around for that. And they were thrown upon the earth. A third of the earth burned up, and a third of the trees burned up, and the green grass burned up. So I kind of wondered, the symbolism in the trumpet judgments. I wondered, was this nuclear war breaking out on earth? And there's a few things in here in Revelation 8 that will point to that idea. I don't know, eventually we'll find out what this is, but if you're in heaven, you'll see the angel throwing down the the fire, and you'll see the first trumpet blowing, and you'll wonder, oh yeah, I wanted to find out what that was. Hey, what is that judgment, by the way? And if you're on earth, you're going to know all about it. So I'll get to the nuclear war thing in a minute. A third of the earth burned up, and a third of the trees burned up, and all the green grass burned up. It does sound quite like the fury and the fire that would, it gives you almost a picture of Hiroshima, So is a third of the world going to go to war, nuclear war? Quite possible. Second angel trumpeted, and something like a huge mountain, ablaze with fire, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned to blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died. And a third of the ships were destroyed. So a huge mountain ablaze with fire was thrown into the sea. So is this going to be some sort of never before seen magnitude of earthquake or volcano? I remember watching a documentary on Mount St. Helens when it blew up back in the 80s. Was it 89 or 88 or something? Can't remember the year. But when the cameras were rolling, and when the mountain, or when the volcano went off, the mountain just blew out. The side of the mountain just blew out. Well, if a large mountain in an area that was, say, quite a lot of shipping going on, a third of the ships of the sea, that'd probably be somewhere down around the production area in China, I would reckon. So is there something going to happen down there? Will there be a tsunami that will blow across and take out the ships of the sea? Who knows? So it does kind of add up if it's a something like a huge mountain ablaze with fire. So that would look like a volcano. So it was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea turned to blood. So that basically means a third of the sea. It didn't actually say a third of the seas. It says a third of the sea. So maybe it's a third of one particular sea. I don't particularly know. A third of the sea turned to blood. So basically, turning to blood is dying. So, and then it says a third of the living creatures within the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. So that's the second trumpet judgment. So here we go on to the third one, rolling through these. The third angel trumpeted, and a great star fell from the heavens, like a burning torch. It fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water, And now the name of the star is Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood, and many of the people died from the waters that were made bitter. Now here is the interesting parable, or interesting verse, because of the name Wormwood. And this is why I mentioned about nuclear war. Wormwood is the direct translation of the name of the town Chernobyl. Wormwood is the direct translation of the town Chernobyl. Anybody know what Chernobyl is, or why is Chernobyl famous? The nuclear reactor melted down, and it basically made the place uninhabitable. So a third of the waters became wormwood, so they became affected by this wormwood. So that's why I think it's got something to do with nuclear war, nuclear fallout. It could be a nuclear fallout. And many of the people died from the waters that were made bitter. So if the water's source, if there is a nuclear fallout, there will be tainted water sources and people will die. That's that. And anyway, interesting how nobody knew really why. I know wormwood is a plant, okay, and it's a bitter type of plant. I think it's partially poisonous. But the name Chernobyl and what happened in Chernobyl, and the fact that it is a direct translation into wormwood, it does suggest that this sort of thing is what's going to happen. Some sort of nuclear fallout or nuclear meltdown, maybe. Who knows? The fourth angel trumpeted, and a third of the sun, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars were struck, so that a third of them were darkened, and a third of the day would not shine, as well as a third of the night. So I don't actually know what that's going to be. What I did actually write down is the solar cycle declines by 30 degrees, at 30%, so a third of it, 33%. Something major is going to happen in terms of the length of the day and the length of the night. A third of the sun and a third of the moon and a third of the stars were struck. Yeah, I'll be interested to find out what that actually means in the end. So then we move on. Then I looked and I heard an eagle crying out with a loud voice as it flew in the sky, saying, "Woe, woe, woe to those." So we'll move on. Oh, isn't this getting fun? Who dwell on the earth. Woe to those who dwell on the earth, because of the remaining blasts of the trumpets. The three angels are about to sound. And what I wrote there is what's coming next is a taste of hell. So, Revelation 8, the ante has been upped. There's most definitely catastrophes pouring out on the earth. And it's getting one after the next. It's getting worse and worse and worse. So what I wrote actually on the top of my next page here is that each catastrophe will drive people to God. And it'll drive people away too. So it's almost like that separation that I mentioned earlier is happening. Those that are open to, worshiping God, the one true God, those that are open to turning to Him, they will turn to Him, and that's that. And they will call on His name at this point. Those that aren't, they won't. They will completely blind themselves. They'll dive back into the world. They will walk away, and they will not call on God, and that's that. And the worse that the tragedies and catastrophes are getting, the more people are actually going to turn to God. So this is kind of like, in a way, it is a huge mercy in terms of eternity. Whatever happens on planet Earth, we live a very short life, basically. So whatever happens here, in terms of eternity, is nothing. It's not even, you won't even think about it. You'll be outside of time. In eternity, you are outside of time. So whatever happens in time is basically separate from you. And you'll be separate from time. which is an awesome thought, really, when you think about it. I don't think we can even compute that at all, to be honest. Okay, so that's Revelation 8. Wow, wasn't that fun? If you haven't turned to God yet, and you haven't accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it's time to do it, because Revelation 9 is coming. And woe, woe, woe to those, as it says down there, woe to those who dwell on the earth. Interesting again, as he says, it mentions a lot in Revelation, those who dwell on the earth dwellers. And again, later on, it says that people will curse those who dwell in heaven. They'll be like cursing those who dwell in heaven. So the separation, again, people will be wedded to the earth and people will be wedded to heaven. Everybody has a God, they say. You know, everybody serves somebody. You better just serve the right one. All right, that's that. Revelation 8 done. On with the next one.